Hi friends, I'm Miss Kayla and I'm so glad to see y'all today. Today we're going to continue focusing on the one word that we've been focusing on all summer long. That word is faith. If you guys remember from last week and the week before that, faith is trusting in what we can't see because of what we can see. Sure, we can't see God, but we can still decide to put our faith in Him when we discover just how great He is and how much He loves us. One of the most important ways that we can discover how great our God is by looking at the way that He works in the lives of people throughout the Bible. So all summer long, we've been looking at the life of a man named Paul to see how God worked in amazing ways in Paul's life. So today, we're going to continue talking about Paul, but let's give ourselves a quick recap. Remember, Paul at first hated Jesus, and he spent his whole life trying to stop people from believing in Jesus. Then he put his faith in Jesus, and his life turned completely around. He spent his time sharing the good news of Jesus with people everywhere and encouraging believers in different churches. Let's watch this video to find a little bit more about Paul's life.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Acts, chapters 27 and 28.
Paul faced many difficult days because he taught so boldly about Jesus. He was beaten, made fun of, thrown into jail, and run out of town. At last, in Jerusalem, Paul was arrested by Roman soldiers after a mob tried to kill him.
He speaks against our law!
Get rid of that guy!
Paul paced in his prison cell. The Lord stood next to him.
Be brave. You have told people about me in Jerusalem. You must do the same in Rome.
Because a group of Jews were plotting to kill him, Paul was taken to the governor in Caesarea. From there, he was ordered to Rome to stand trial before Caesar. Then, he was handed off to a Roman commander for the sea journey.
I am Julius of the Imperial Guard. I am very imperious, but also a reasonable human being.
Glad to hear it.
Julius allowed Paul to visit with friends as they stopped at the port city of Sidon. From there, they sailed around Cyprus, transferred to a ship from Egypt, carrying grain to Italy. The ship fought against the wind for many days until they arrived in a town on the island of Crete called Fair Havens. It was already well into October, a risky time for sea travel.
Men, I can see that our trip is going to be dangerous. The ship will be lost, and our own lives will be in danger.
A reasonable concern.
The pilot and ship's owner wanted to reach a better harbor for the winter.
Pish posh. We can make it to Phoenix.
Well,
Feel that? Gentle southerly breeze. Perfection.
we leave at once.
Anchors away!
But very soon, the gentle breeze transformed. Within a short time, the wind beat against the ship with the strength of a hurricane. The pilot gave up fighting the gale.
Hoist the lifeboat! Secure ropes around the bow! Jettison the cargo!
In the midst of the chaos, the Lord sent an angel to Paul. The next morning, Paul withstood the storm to encourage the crew and passengers. 276 people.
First, not to say I told you so, but I told you so. Second, not a problem. Last night, an angel from God told me, do not be afraid, Paul. You must go on trial in front of Caesar. God has shown His grace by sparing the lives of all those sailing with you. But we must run the ship onto an island.
On the 14th night of the storm, the sailors realized they were nearing land.
The water's only 90 feet deep here.
Drop the anchor!
The crew was so afraid of crashing against the rocks that they lowered the lifeboats, planning to escape and leave the passengers.
Julius, these men must stay with the ship. If they don't, you can't be saved.
A reasonable request. Cut the ropes.
The soldiers cut the ropes so the crew could not escape. Just before dawn, Paul gathered everyone on board, shouting above the wind,
Not a problem. None of you will lose a single hair from your head. Now, I'm asking you to eat so you can live.
Paul took bread and thanked God. He then broke the bread and ate it. Everyone was filled with hope while they had some food to eat as the gray morning dawned.
There's the beach! Lift the anchors and we'll run her aground!
But as the pilot steered desperately for shore, the ship hit a sandbar and began to break into pieces. The soldiers were planning to kill Paul and the other prisoners to keep them from swimming to freedom.
Stop! Don't hurt them! Paul must live! Everyone overboard! Swim to land or grab a piece of the wreckage!
Miraculously, everyone made it to shore, just as God had promised.
Welcome to Malta.
The people of Malta were unusually kind as they built a fire to welcome this large group of wet and stranded visitors.
I'll fetch some more firewood.
Paul tossed sticks into the fire. Then, a deadly snake slithered out and sunk his teeth into Paul's hand.
This man must be a murderer. The gods won't let him live.
Not a problem. Totally fine.
Paul simply shook the snake into the fire. When the people saw he was unharmed, they decided he was a god. Publius, a chief official, welcomed Paul and the others into his home.
Take whatever you need.
Paul discovered that Publius, his father, was very sick, so he prayed.
Jesus, please, heal this man.
Publius, his father, was made well. All the sick people on the island flocked to see Paul, and they too were healed. Paul had so much respect on Malta that when it was time to leave, the people of Malta gave him all the supplies they needed.
Bon voyage!
At long last, Paul neared Rome. The believers had heard he was on his way and traveled to meet him.
Welcome to Rome!
I thank God for you all.
In Rome, Paul was allowed to live in his own home, under guard. For 2 years, he welcomed anyone who came to see him. He told Jews and Gentiles alike the good news of Jesus, just as God promised he would.
In Rome, Paul was allowed to stay in a house as long as he had guards watching him. For 2 years while he was staying in that house, he welcomed anybody that wanted to come and see him. During that time, he shared the good news of Jesus with Jewish and non-Jewish people, just like God promised he would. Now, Paul didn't have a really easy life. I doubt that he thought he was going to end up shipwrecked and bitten by a snake for the sake of the gospel. Things don't always go easy for us, but Paul still decided to put his faith and his trust in God. That's the good news, friends, is that knowing Jesus changes the way that we see our problems. Just like Paul continued to put his faith and trust in God, we can do the same in our lives. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this week. Parents, make sure that you check out the parent guides that go along with this week's lesson. And when you guys have the chance, text elementary to the number 409-240-0429. Answer the question that pops up in the link there. It'll be submitted and it will enter your family into a drawing to win a prize this week. You guys have a great week.